Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel today. And in this video I'd like to show you the quilt that I'm working on. Okay, here, I hope you can see this because I have my camera upside down in my hand. These are the scraps that I'm using to make the quilt. And as you can see, some of them are already sewed together in kind of a sort of a patchworky style. Some of them are in strips, and some of them are in blocks like this one. Some are bigger than others, like this. And in a minute here, I'll show you how I put these scrap pieces together to make the quilt that I'm working on, as well as show you the quilt itself. Now this is the quilt laid out. And of course, every time I come in here, I've got dogs helping me. I don't really have a room big enough to have a quilting frame or to lay it out, so I have to bring it in here in my living room and lay it out. And this is what it is. I call it a patchwork quilt or a string quilt. That's what my grandma used to call it. And she's the one that taught me how to do this. And in a minute, I will show you the method that I use to do this. But when you make this quilt, as you can see, teeny tiny little scraps like that, or large scraps, nothing gets wasted. In the time of my great-grandma, my grandma, and even my mom, you didn't waste fabric when you sewed something. Back in the days of Depression, Ginger is trying to get up on the chair, sewing a quilt was a necessity. And making clothes were a necessity because people made clothes out of things called flour sacks and cotton tote sacks. And nothing was wasted. My grandma never wasted anything. When she'd cut a scrap off, she would save it if she cut something out. And to tell you the truth, honestly, in today's world, that's probably something you need to consider doing anyway, because fabric is not cheap anymore. I can buy a yard of fabric at Walmart for $3 or $4. But at one time they used to have it there for 99 cents and $1 a yard. Here lately, the fabric that I use from Walmart is pre-cut. Jade's going to want to show you her toy. But when my grandma made something, she had a little box or a bag that she put all her scraps in, and this is what she did with it. Now, I like one more strip over on that side, and I think it'll be finished as far as width, maybe. I might have to add some more strips across the top. I don't know, I have to measure it. But the way I do it over here on this side, see how I got that flipped over? I roll that over till I can scoot this side over to the middle of the room, and then I bring my material in and I lay it along that edge and clip it. Then I roll it back up to take it into the sewing room to stitch it on. That's the only way I can do it in this house, because even though I have a sewing room, it's not big enough to do anything, you know, to lay anything out like this as far as the quilt goes. And when my grandma sewed, she saved every little thing she had to use. If you'll notice right here, there's a little ribbon. And right there is a piece of lace. There's another little piece of lace right there. See right here? She told me whenever you make these quilts, if you've got little pieces of rickrack, lace, ribbons that are too small to really decorate or do anything with, she would save those. And she told me, she said, just stick them in your quilt. You know, up and down the seams. It just adds a little bit of interest and dynamic to your quilt. Just makes it a little different. And this is the way I roll it up when I take it back into the sewing room to finish sewing on it. I just roll it up just like this. Now I'm in another part of the house because I want to show you some more about this quilt. Now, when I make those quilts like that, I can use that quilting fabric for a lot of different things besides just making quilts. I've made pillows out of it, and I made this skirt here. Let me show you. I'm going to show you this. This is called a boho patchwork skirt. And I don't know if you can tell what that is up there. This is actually a pair of blue jeans. And the way you do it is when you sew a big enough piece of this fabric, you cut open the legs of your jean on both sides, the front piece and the back here. And you cut like a triangle out. And you can make that triangle as wide across here as you want, or you could just make it a narrow slit. Depends on how big you want your quilt to be. And on this particular skirt, I cut, if you can see, here's the hem. Here's the top of the fabric. I cut this piece off, and then I stuck a piece of lace in there to kind of make it a little different and give it a little jazz besides just being a little patchwork quilt. So that when I walk, you can actually see my legs through this part here. Now, back in the 70s, when I was a young girl, bell bottoms were very popular. And we used to take our blue jeans and cut open the seams, cut out a triangle piece of fabric and put in there, and make our straight leg jeans turn into flare jeans. And if you wanted a really big flare, you cut it out on both sides and put a triangle piece on both sides. And that's how you made your straight leg blue jeans be a flare. Now to do this quilt, my grandma taught me, you take your little pieces of fabric like this. And you can either sew them together like this individually. That's how I'm doing the ones that I'm going. And you just keep building on it. Like these right here, I've got them going this way. I could attach another strip of fabric that goes up and down this way and build it out that way. Then I could start attaching more this way till I get a long and wide enough strip to attach to that quilt like you saw in there. But another way that my grandmother taught me, you have a piece of interfacing fabric like this is, and you take your fabric scraps, and what you're going to do, you'll lay one on here like this, then you'll find another piece of fabric that's big enough to go across that, and you'll lay it on top of that, and you'll stitch it. Then you'll open that up, and then you'll do the same thing. You'll find another piece big enough, and you'll attach it there. The best way to do that, though, for these, is to start it in the middle of your thing. Have a piece of fabric big enough to go across the whole thing. Lay your second piece on top, stitch it, open it up, and then start working down your sides to fill this out. And you cut out as many of these square interfacings like this as you want to make your quilt top. And then all you got to do is stitch these together. You know, when you get another quilt block done, you put it on top of that and stitch it together, make your quilt top. Now, like I said, fabric is not as cheap today as it used to be. So I save everything. I use every little scrap of material, even the ones that are too small to make something like this. I'm talking as big as my finger, tiny. I will save those, and I use them for stuffing, like stuffing pillows, stuffed animals. There's a quilt that you can make called a puff quilt. I use them for that. And patterns, used to you could go to Walmart and they had what was called a McCall's Quick pattern, and they had it on a spinning rack, and it was like 99 cents for one pattern. Well, I was in there the other day when I was getting my thread, and they had a pattern thing in there. I thought you might want to see the back part of it. The back part doesn't have the lace on it. It's just solid. Let me open that up for you to see. Here's what the back one looks like. Anyway, I stopped at that counter and opened up one of those pattern books. I was trying to see if I could find a pattern to make dog coats or dog sweaters for the girls. Well, they only had one pattern in there, and it was not the design that I had picked out, and it wasn't even the size. So I didn't get it. But what I want to tell you is that pattern was $15 for one pattern that you might use one time and then put away and never use again. The last time I bought a pattern, I think I paid $5 for it. And that was for a pattern that I knew that I was going to use over and over again. It was an apron pattern. I still have that pattern. Okay, I wanted to show you here. These are just some of the patterns that I have. This is the pattern I was telling you about for $5 that has apron. And the reason I knew that I would use it more than once is because, look, it has several different designs. One of them is a full-length pattern. One of them is just an apron pattern that ties around your waist. This one has ruffles. This one don't. These are the ones that go around your neck. But this pattern was $5. I didn't mind paying $5 because I knew that I would use it again. Now this pattern right here, our local thrift store has a pattern section where you can buy used patterns. And I saw a craft idea on Pinterest, or one of the crafting things for making a craft using old patterns. And I picked this one up for that. Now I want to show you how inflation has affected, because like I said, sewing used to be something people did as a way to survive. You can't hardly afford to do it now. It's a hobby. But if you look here, this is one of the patterns that I bought at our local thrift store. 50 cents. In Canada, it's 60 cents. It's a little girl's pattern. This one was 60, a little bit higher. This one was 65. This one, I don't think I could find a price on it. I was going to use it for that craft. The craft called to use old patterns like from the 70s, and somewhere on here you can find a date of when they put this pattern out. I think it's probably up there in that small print right there. So I bought that for that pattern to use for that craft. This one here was $1.99, and it's a lady's two-piece suit. This one here is $1.99 in the U.S., and there you see the prices for Canada and wherever that other one is, Australia. And it's a dress. This one is $1.20 in the U.S. It's two little girls' dresses. Here's another one that I got to use in that craft. It's $1.75. This one here, I think I bought this one for the craft thing too. You can see the prices are going up here. $6.50 for this pattern. And this one here, $7.95. So you might as well say $8 for this pattern. Be nice if these styles would come back in again, then I could make dresses out of that. And then this one here, I think another person bought this because where I worked at, there was a girl there that wanted me to make aprons for her. And I think she bought this pattern and brought it in. I think she did. Let me look on here and show you. $13.95. So this was when the patterns were starting to go up in price. Like I say, that one that I looked at the other day was $15, and it was just for making dog shirts. But now these are not all the patterns I got. These are just some of the ones that I had that I'm planning on using. And that's the quilting box that I use. So I take this out, lay it out in the floor. Then I get into all these scraps, put them together, sew the little pieces together to the big pieces until I get a much larger piece like this, and then I attach it down the length of that till I get it the size I want. So that's all I wanted to show you in this video. Thank you very much for coming to view this video today. Remember, your life is very short, so make it the very best kind of life that you can. And y'all come back and see us now. Bye for this one.